The air hung heavy, thick with humidity, and the unspoken fear that had become a grim companion to daily life in Gaza. Children played listlessly in the narrow streets, their laughter a fragile counterpoint to the ever-present tension. It was a Thursday, just after midday prayers, when the sky turned red. A high-pitched whine, a sound all too familiar, pierced the air, growing into a deafening roar as an Israeli fighter jet screamed across the horizon. Moments later, a plume of smoke and debris erupted skyward, marking the deadly intersection of iron and concrete that signaled another airstrike. This was no surgical strike, no precision operation targeting military infrastructure. This time, the bomb's fury found its mark in a residential building, a structure housing families who moments before had been going about their daily routines. The blast sent shockwaves rippling outwards, shattering windows, collapsing walls, and sending residents scrambling for safety. Panic-stricken cries filled the air as mothers frantically searched for their children amidst the dust and debris. Neighbors, their faces etched with fear and grim determination, rushed to help, forming makeshift human chains to carry the injured to safety. Time seemed to both stand still and race forward in a terrifying blur. Every second counted as rescuers, hampered by the lack of proper equipment and the ever-present threat of another strike, dug through the rubble, desperate to reach those trapped beneath the wreckage. Amidst the chaos, stories of both extraordinary courage and heartbreaking loss unfolded. A young man, his clothes torn and bloodied, refused to leave the side of his injured father, shielding him with his own body. A mother, her face streaked with tears, could only watch in despair as rescuers pulled the lifeless body of her child from the rubble. As the dust settled, a scene of utter devastation emerged. The once familiar building was reduced to a smoldering pile of rubble, a grim testament to the indiscriminate nature of war. The air, thick with the smell of smoke and concrete dust, was punctuated by the sobs of those who had lost loved ones and the frantic shouts of rescuers still searching for survivors. The immediate aftermath of the strike was a maelstrom of activity. Ambulances, their sirens wailing, struggled to navigate the rubble-strewn streets. Makeshift clinics, overflowing with the injured, struggled to cope with the sheer number of casualties. Doctors and nurses, their faces etched with fatigue and despair, worked tirelessly, their skills pushed to the limit. Yet even in the face of such tragedy, the indomitable spirit of the human will to survive flickered on. Neighbors shared what little food, water, and shelter they had with those who had lost everything. Volunteers, many of them young people, worked tirelessly alongside rescue workers, their determination fueled by a sense of shared grief and a desperate hope. The days that followed the airstrike were a blur of grief, anger, and a weary acceptance of the harsh realities of life in a war zone. Families began the heartbreaking task of burying their dead, their grief a tangible presence in the air, heavy and suffocating. Those who had lost their homes sought refuge with relatives or in overcrowded shelters, their futures uncertain, their lives irrevocably shattered. Yet, amidst the despair, there were also glimmers of hope. Stories of extraordinary resilience and compassion emerged. Children too young to fully comprehend the horrors they had witnessed offered each other comfort and solace. Teachers, their classrooms reduced to rubble, set up makeshift schools in the open air, determined to provide their students with a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. The international community, often criticized for its inaction, responded with an outpouring of sympathy and aid. Humanitarian organizations, their resources already stretched thin, worked tirelessly to provide food, water, medical supplies, and shelter to those who had lost everything. In the wake of tragedy, the community came together with a shared spirit of resilience and determination. Neighbors helped neighbors, sharing what little they had and offering comfort and support. Local organizations, often operating with limited resources, mobilized quickly to provide essential services. The spirit of defiance, too, was palpable. People spoke out against the violence, demanding an end to the cycle of bloodshed that had plagued their lives for far too long. They organized protests, staged sit-ins, and used social media to share their stories with the world, determined to make their voices heard. The airstrike, a stark reminder of the human cost of this intractable conflict, served as a catalyst for a renewed push for peace. International pressure mounted on all sides to engage in meaningful dialogue, to seek a lasting solution that would break the cycle of violence and allow the people of Gaza to live in peace and security. The road to peace is long and arduous, fraught with obstacles and setbacks. Yet the human spirit, in its resilience and capacity for hope, offers a glimmer of light in even the darkest of times. As the sun sets over Gaza, casting long shadows over the rubble of shattered lives, one can only hope that the echoes of this latest tragedy will serve as a wake-up call, a reminder that the pursuit of peace is not a choice but a necessity. The children of Gaza deserve more than a life lived in the shadow of conflict. They deserve a future filled with hope, opportunity, and the chance to live in peace and security. It is our collective responsibility, as citizens of the world, to work towards that future, to demand an end to the violence, and to create a world where the skies over Gaza are no longer filled with the red glare of bombs, but with the bright promise of a better tomorrow.